Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to everybody to the POMcast. I, of course, am your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the first POMcast of Christmas week. Merry Christmas to everybody. This is what we're going to do. This is what the schedule is going to be, so just bear with us. But this week will be business as usual for the POMcast, Monday through Friday, with Christmas Day being the What to Expect from Indiana episode. So we'll be here this week. We're going to take next week off. And we're going to take Monday off. I'm going to be driving back down to the palatial Central Florida studios. So we will not be able to have a show come Monday. If that makes sense. So that is the plan. Again, we are basically business as usual this week, even through the holiday. And we are going to take off next week and the Monday of the week after. So the first show after that back will be January 5th. Now there will probably be a We've Got Notes after the Outback Bowl. But that is about it. The rest of the time we'll be doing Christmas with the fam. We have a nice chalet up in the mountains. And we're going to celebrate the season, blow out 2020. Since it got taken away, we're going to have a good time. So I hope everybody else has a good time as well. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And let's see. Ole Miss 48, LSU 53. You heard the We've Got Notes, the criticism, the problem, but the fact of the matter remains, if it's not for the turnovers, Ole Miss blows that game out. If not for the turnovers, Ole Miss blows that game out. 5 interceptions and 1 fumble. And it kind of reminds me of like at this point, we have a fairly decent sample size of Matt Corral's work. And 1 out of every 4.5 games is a disaster game. But that means 3.5 out of 4.5 is just brilliant. So I was sitting here thinking about that. It's like whether that is acceptable. And it might have been acceptable this year, but I'm talking about for a quarterback that in the future is going to want to play in the NFL and things like that. Well, it's I don't think we can be okay with that. Now, next year, he needs to work and put a cap on it to where his disaster game is 3 interceptions. Not huge record-setting numbers one way or the other. Big swings both ways. But to knock that down to 3 interceptions, he might have a chance. But he's been phenomenal for us, and he turned it around in the second half. Thanks to the running game against LSU. He really did. And I don't hear anything besides that. But I'm just thinking about his development and what he needs to work on for next year. And it is cutting down those disaster games. You need... See, what makes a quarterback great is that not their greatness, not how high they can go, not how high they can elevate. That's not what makes a quarterback great. It's when he doesn't have it and there's a problem, he's still pretty good. That's the problem. You have to raise that floor. You can't have as big a gap as we have at the moment. And that's how you take that next step. It's not about how good can you be. It's about how bad can you be. If he can get up to the point, well, he just needs to get next year to where he's average when he's bad. Like the Auburn game. If the Auburn game was the floor, he would be a great quarterback. Top level. There's no arguments either way that can be made about it. But you can't have 5 and 6 interception games. I mean, we did good bow and bad bow for far less. And once every 4.5 games, if it happens in the wrong games like it did this year, instead of Alabama and Alabama and Texas A&M, if he has a bad game there, okay, that's fine. You were going to lose those probably anyway, and you have a chance to go 8-2 or 10-2 or whatever you want to put it. But if you have it on the wrong games, you still have that Alabama and Texas A&M game where winning is a long shot. You have Auburn, which is kind of turning into a 50-50 game. And then 2 bad games happens with Arkansas and LSU. All of a sudden, you're looking at 5-5. You're looking at a 500 season. That's the difference in the floor of the quarterback. It's what it means. You have to be able to count more than any other position on his performance. That's the way that works. That's what he signed up for. So, we have to improve to the point where we're not having disaster games. We have to raise the floor. We don't need to worry about the ceiling. We need to worry about the floor. And there's certain ways to do that. And I think he will. He has 15 bowl practices. He has spring practice. And next season, he has a 12-game season with 3 cupcakes in Louisville. Anyway, we come back for segment 2. The POMcast. Stephen Willis, stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
Welcome back to the POMcast. Here on a Monday morning, Ole Miss in the Outback Bowl against Indiana on January 2nd. at, I believe, 12:30 on ABC. That's pretty big news. That's pretty big news. It's less than an hour. The stadium is less than an hour away from the palatial Central Florida studios. We will not be in there, as it turns out, as we have a chalet we're renting out in East Tennessee. We did that, honestly, before the pandemic. But I get to see my mom, get to see my uncle, and everybody for the first time in a year. So that's good. Everybody still needs to be careful. You don't want to be the person that gets killed after the ceasefire is signed. Be careful. The vaccine is on the way. You just have to wait your turn. Do what you need to stay safe. But Ole Miss versus Indiana in the Outback Bowl. Ole Miss has never been to the Outback Bowl. That leaves roughly the Citrus as one of the few bowls in the SEC's traditional bowl allotment that Ole Miss hasn't gone to. But Ole Miss versus Indiana. Now, this week I'm going to have to watch some Indiana football. It's scheduled up to be a fun game and will be one of the most hyped non-playoff games played. I mean, you just look at the list. There's not a lot there. There's Florida and Oklahoma in the New Year's Six, which will be kind of a fun game. But Ole Miss versus Indiana. Now, I believe Indiana's quarterback is out, but I need to watch Indiana for the What to Expect episode. Because I'm going to be honest, at this point, I don't know much about Indiana. I think their quarterback is out, which they built their ranking off of him, and I think he got hurt. But other than that, I don't know much. Oh, and I know Ty Freifogel is the son of Trey Freifogel that played at Ole Miss way back in 2000, 2001. So I remember that too. He was I think he was out of Bluestell. He's somewhere on the coast. I don't really remember. If you can remember what he was, let me know through Twitter and Facebook. Speaking of which, if you want to follow us, you can on Facebook at The Stephen Willis or at Positively. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. Join our group at Positively Ole Miss. YouTube, you can subscribe at Positively Ole Miss. You want to subscribe to the channel because in the future when we start streaming, you'll be warned when we start streaming. And it might be something to where you get a notification and that means like a 15-minute warning. And we'll put something in the front to do that. We'll create a playlist or something for that. And, of course, you can catch us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. If audio is your thing, you can catch us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're on a bunch of minor podcatchers, but if we were to list them all, we'd be here for the whole show. So thank you very much. Subscribe, leave a review, especially on Apple Podcast, a 5-star review if possible. You can say whatever you want to say. Just leave us a 5-star review. What that is going to do is when people search Ole Miss, that's going to put us at the top of the list. So thank you very much. Just so you know, we are already at our November play number with a week to go. We've grown every month, and it just on top of each other is just 1, 2, 3. And we just really appreciate you guys listening and taking us in and doing what we need to do. And because, I mean, that's why we're here, really. But again, I need to watch Indiana this week. I've got the house to myself. I'm not in the palatial Central Florida studios. I'm back in Nashville. And I'll be here all week. And then we'll go do our thing out in the mountains. And I'll be back in the palatial Central Florida studios next week. Now, we are moving. We might have some kind of a scheduling hiccup. So with furniture and everything going in, and there might be a day where something happens. So just be patient, and we'll do a week of that, and we'll kind of break down. Because the plan is when we come back to break down actually what we saw during the season. You know, before the season, it was all about predictions of what was going to happen. Now, we will talk about what we actually saw during the season. And here's a hint. There's a system problem of personnel on defense. They're designed for one thing. They're being asked to do another. And there's a big problem. Now, the personnel, the good news, they've recruited a bunch of personnel for that side of the ball to fit their system. So that is good. Get them over there, and they should be fine. But when you have a Lucy route that was being run over and over by Butte for LSU, who broke the SEC record for yards, and you couldn't stop it, it's because you can't play zone, because your defensive line is too weak to get any pass rush, which would have stopped that. And you can't play man because you don't have the personnel to stay with the guy. Because they're putting in the slot. It's a mismatch thing. So that's the actual truth. It's all about personnel. We're better than we were. There's no doubt about that. We're not the disaster we were at the beginning of the season. But we still aren't where we need to be. Period. There is no argument about that, I don't think. I mean, I don't know why you would say anything about that. And we have lines coming up in segment 3. There's a bunch of SEC games. This is the one week of the season where there's like a non-conference type slate of SEC games, but they're going to spread them out all over the place. So we will do that. And there's just a ton to be excited about in Ole Miss football. Just a ton. And just positive energy all over the place. And if you don't like what's going on, I like that if you have a problem with what's going on, we're taking on the attitude where you can just deal with it. It's not our issue that you don't like it. We're going to do what we're going to do. If you have a problem with that, so what? And that's kind of fun. You saw in the LSU game on the sideline the fire extinguisher and all that. Jonathan Heth's having some fun. But, I mean, it should have worked. Now, you can break down all kinds of stuff, but it's nitpicking at this point because there's a personnel problem. Like at the 4-minute offense out there, we were without our top 4 weapons. Take Elijah Moore and Kenny Yeboah, Jerry and Ely got hurt, and Braylon Sanders got hurt. Who's going to step up as number 5? You know, turns out it was Henry Parrish, by the way. But no receiver stepped up. Jonathan Mingo has not had a good year. He had a good game against Kentucky, but with an opportunity to step up, he did not. That was kind of, yeah, you saw a bunch of Jaden Jackson out there. Casey Kelly was playing tight end. I mean, and in a situation, you just you just lost too many playmakers to recover from. I mean, that's the sad part and the true part. You lost too many playmakers. Now, with this, after this bowl game, and maybe before, I look for a good number of transfers away, by the way. Now, this isn't necessarily processing. Some of it is, but some of it isn't, because some people want to play. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. Some people want to get out there and play. And that's not happening at the moment. So for them, like Jaden Jackson, Dennis Jackson, I can see them disappearing. Going to Southern Miss. Southern Miss could make quite a living off of 2 or 3 transfers from Ole Miss. I mean, that could happen. They were to get John Rice Plumlee, Dennis Jackson, and Snoop Connor, they've got themselves something. So that's something to keep an eye on, really. Because Southern can turn a corner and be something that they're not currently in a fairly quick amount of time. So that's a possibility. And Will Hall down at Southern Miss, that offense would be perfect for John Rice. They recruited and got Ty Keys, by the way. So they just heavy on Mississippi. Segment 2 in the books. POMcast, Stephen Willis. Stick around for lines.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
All right, POMcast. I'm the host, Stephen Willis. All right, we got some lines. Now, I might not know what all these bowls are because they're not listed on this thing that I'm reading from, so bear with me if I get it wrong, but, you know, I don't think I'm going to get too many of them wrong. But you have South Carolina versus UAB. UAB is a 3-point favorite over the Gamecocks. Now, no word if Shane Beamer is going to coach that game or if they're just going to enter him down the list, but that game is going on. I think that might be the Belt Bowl. Missouri and Iowa scheduled. Iowa's a 14-point favorite. That game is the Music City Bowl, I believe. Florida versus Oklahoma. Florida's a 3-point favorite in that game. And what I believe is the Cotton Bowl. Tulsa, 2-point favorite over Mississippi State in the First Responders Bowl. Tennessee is a 4-point underdog to West Virginia in the Liberty Bowl. Arkansas is a 5-point underdog to TCU in the Texas Bowl. I think I'm doing pretty well in these bowls, actually, since they're not listed. Alabama is a 19-point favorite versus Notre Dame in the Zombie Arlington College Football semifinal. I don't know if the Rose Bowl is moving over there, but it would be the Rose Bowl. Kentucky is a 3-point favorite over NC State, and I believe that is in the Gator Bowl. Indiana is a 7-point favorite over Ole Miss in the Outback Bowl, and Texas A&M is a 6-point favorite over North Carolina in the Orange Bowl. Not listed on here is Georgia versus Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl, and Auburn and Northwestern in the Citrus Bowl. So if I had those lines, I'd put those out as well. But one trend that you see is, 1, 2, 3, 4 SEC favorites, and of this one, 6 SEC underdogs. Now, by a touchdown or less most of the time, except for Missouri, but an underdog just the same. That's one way you can put it. The games I'm looking forward to on this list, Ole Miss versus Indiana, obviously, and that's not even as an Ole Miss fan. That's just an entertainment fan. I am looking forward to North Carolina and Texas A&M, and I am looking forward to Florida and Oklahoma. Those 3 games are pretty much the top of the list of games to watch in bowl season, not counting. I mean, we're going to watch Alabama and Notre Dame, the first game of the college football playoff, but, good luck. That game will be on January 1st. And it looks like they might have put it in order of appearance, I think, maybe. But I'm just guessing on that. So we got a lot of good stuff. It's going to be a nice bowl season. The whole conference, save for LSU and Vandy, is bowling. So we can enjoy it. We can SEC away, and we can try and pull some upsets, as it does look like the SEC is the underdog in most of them. Although Georgia would be a favorite over Cincinnati, and Northwestern are probably a favorite over Auburn. So I would take underdog 7, favorite 5. That's the way it's set up. So it should be quite interesting. I mean, I haven't dug too much in these non-conference teams because, if we're playing conference only, there's a reason to narrow our focus. So I will be digging in this week on Ole Miss and Indiana, and specifically on Indiana, so I can talk about what they do defensively, what they do offensively, what they're probably going to plan to do. And the answer, by the way, is run the football. They are going to try and run the football. So we'll see where they stack up. There's a chance, I'm almost positive, Michael Penix got hurt about 2 weeks ago. So, or 3 weeks ago. Who knows? But he was the offense. He made the stretch play against Penn State. He threw for nearly 500 yards against Ohio State. Ty Fryfogle had Elijah Moore-like numbers for most of the season. I guess I did know a little bit about Indiana, but I need to watch them to figure out what they're going to do. Because I kind of pride myself on being accurate for you, and you can kind of go into the game and know what's going to happen. So it's kind of cool. But that's the lines. I'm not really looking forward to South Carolina, UAB, Tennessee, West Virginia, Mississippi State, Tulsa. Not any of those. Those are, Arkansas, TCU. That's 3-win SEC teams. I mean, that's pretty bad. But they're favored over. They're underdogs against lesser teams, or what should be lesser teams. So it should be interesting. UAB versus South Carolina should be interesting. Tulsa versus Mississippi State should be interesting. We'll see. Monday in the books. The POMcast, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for listening today. And of course, hotty toddy.